Tara?
Hi, Kirby. How are you doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you.
Today we have a topic that's kind of been sometimes in the news. You see somebody getting in big trouble for using AI in the wrong way. In this case, we're going to talk about using it for court.
Yes.
And this kind of came up because I was watching a few different court videos, because there's like a couple of people who do snippets, and one of the snippets was some people who the pro se defendants were using AI. Now, we're not going to show that one in this because Sarah found us some excellent examples, and we don't really even need to bring up that one specifically. But the thing is, it is tempting to let AI do some of the thinking for you or sourcing for you. And I actually think using AI to source things is not a bad idea, but you need to check the links, because I'm not doing it for legal things right now, but I was doing some AI saying, okay, find me some sources for this topic, this topic, this topic. And when I went to the link, that article actually really did exist in some cases, but the link wasn't correct. So if the link's not correct, then first of all, anybody following it is going to say your source isn't real, even if it really is. But in these cases, some of these legal cases, the source isn't real.
Right.
You've seen that, Sarah, on the news a few places. Yeah. Okay, so let's kind of let's show some examples of when that has happened. So okay, now this one's going to be, it's political only because of who it is, but it's just a common kind of thing. And that is where we have judge fines Lindell's attorneys $3,000 for using AI to write a legal brief. All right, so we're going to go ahead and run this for a few seconds anyway.
And used AI to create a legal brief so full of AI slop and make-believe case law that it ticked off the judge till she fined him. District Court Judge Nina Wong fined those two attorneys $3,000 apiece today, said they'd failed to meet their professional obligations by outsourcing their work to AI. Lindell lost that defamation lawsuit last month. His legal team...
All right. So again, this is where they had the whole legal brief created by AI. You just can't trust AI enough to do that right now. There might be a kind of time when that sort of like changes, but you know, in my opinion right now, the human in the loop thing, checking your sources is still super important. And not just the sources, but even the text in some cases, because it might actually have some verbiage that maybe wouldn't hold up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it also, the lawyers in this instance actually got off really easy, because $3,000 each was like a slap on the hand.
Oh yeah.
And it differs state by state as far as what, you know, whether it goes to bar association or whether there's, you know, stronger sanctions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know that there is we might have it here, the larger fines that people have gotten, because there have been larger fines. But let's go ahead and we'll check out this next one where we have this is another court video where the judge is slapping the lawyer for failing fake AI court briefs again.
Gillespie, when we were reviewing your documents, your your motion, some of the cases weren't making sense.
Oh goodness, I'm happy to review that and fix whatever needs fixing.
All right, Mr. Kennedy, did you have that issue? Because we were trying to.
I did, Your Honor, and that was something that I wanted to bring up today. So that's part of the reason why I didn't file a reply, is because I was starting to look at these cases that were cited, and they appear to be, I hesitate to say hallucinated, but we've all heard, you know, the stories that have been pretty public about, you know, what can happen when you use AI to draft things. And
so this is a smaller court, and I think that this probably, I mean, I don't mean just probably, this has been happening a lot in the smaller courts. Right. Did you have a hard time finding examples at all, Sarah?
No, I did not have any time. I mean, there's so many different examples. So in this instance, Gillespie actually had to pay over $25,480 out of his own pocket to the other lawyer for all of the court or all of his legal fees up to that point, because it was seen as wasting his time And so he had to pay for all of his legal fees up until that point, and then they had to start the case essentially over. And then the judge also took it to the Bar Association, in addition to him being personally sanctioned. So he got in a lot more trouble than Lindel's lawyers did.
Absolutely. Yeah. And then again, there's like so many examples out there. We have a few more examples we'll show you.
But the one thing I did want to say about this is that both of the first two examples are dealing with hallucinations with court information, like, prior cases and things like that in a state.
Citations.
Yeah, citations. But if somebody actually did it very convincingly or used a proper citation but false information as it relates to the citation, in actuality, they could still poison the case.
Well, theoretically, but I think that most judges will double check the citation, because that's why she found it, because the judge is double checking the citation itself to see if it does that.
Right. But it raises some interesting questions also for OSINT when you're doing OSINT support for legal cases on things like evidence preservation and double checking all the facts.
Exactly. And because AI versions of things show up, when you do have your evidence, it's a good idea to make sure that evidence timestamped, hashed if possible, things like that. Maybe you're going to use a tool like OSINT, forensic OSINT, to help notate that for court, so that way it's not going to be something that might be noticeably edited, that sort of thing.
Right.
All right. So speaking of AI evidence, we've got this one. AI on trial as generated evidence finds its way into the courtroom. So let's watch a few seconds of this one.
My name is Jerry Haas, and I am one of the tenants here in
this glitchy video presented by the plaintiffs in a housing dispute as real witness testimony pre-trial.
I physically witnessed this couple's daily struggle with the tenant.
The presiding judge quickly suspecting it was fake, generated by artificial intelligence.
I declare under penalty of perjury.
The court finding the plaintiffs Ariel and Maridol Mendones, who represented themselves in the case, tried to offer multiple other suspicious pieces of evidence, including more witness testimony, ring camera footage, and even voicemails suspected of being generated or altered by AI.
So AI has been getting so much better, and I know that as it was starting to improve, I started creating receipts in AI. You don't need to be fancy to create a Ring phone video. You can just tell it, hey, create a video that looks like it's coming from my Ring camera, and this is what's happening. And you can do that for free on something like Sora for a couple of generations per day. And then there's all these tools out there that will rip it off of Sora and remove the Sora watermark so that you can actually try and pass it off as real. I think this example, it kind of looked AI. I mean, it was kind of obvious. What do you think, Sarah?
I thought it was poorly made by AI, by the plaintiff. But I do think that the topic itself is very fascinating, because people who actually make it effectively, again, could use it to fudge evidence. So what if somebody did that for deepfake for protective orders? Because they
places like this, because you see this is just like a tenant case, right? But this one was poorly done, because I think they had to picture somebody and then they used the voice thing to animate it after. But you can put it into something, again, like the video ones, like Sora or Veo, and have the person very naturally saying that. I mean, it's
right. And I mean, it could be used for everything from a witness, a fake witness. And so I think that people are going to have to rely on OSINT more in the future in legal cases to confirm that was actually a real witness. And then again, it could be used for things like, somebody could be doing a divorce and they could accuse somebody of domestic violence and get a fake video of domestic violence.
Right.
So I think this is a very interesting aspect of how OSINT and legal issues are going to end up having to are merging more with information verification.
Right, and I think that's something that every legal team is going to need, both offense and defense, when you think about it, is somebody to vet all of the evidence to make sure that it's not AI created evidence, right? So that's something to start thinking about. Is this something that's real? I mean, even in some like these high profile cases that you've had lately, some things that weren't AI but can easily be fake. For example, there was one case where I think the camera footage was reversed, so it looked like the right side of a car was the left side of a car or something like that.
Oh, interesting.
Right? Which was important in that case. And there's cases like that. Well, AI, you don't even have to reverse the footage. So you won't notice anything funny with that. You're gonna have to consider every piece of evidence could be AI generated.
Right.
Yeah. Yep. All right, let's see. We got our next one. All right, so this is just another, and to be honest, I want to point out that the attorney is going to face the sanctions or the fines or whatever, but it might not be the attorney that is actually putting it into the case, but they're the ones who are going to pay for it. So they need to make sure that their, assistants, their paralegals, everybody knows how to vet for AI, or at least, again, maybe you have a professional in there that all the person does is go through all the evidence and make sure that it's not AI.
Yep.
Okay, let's play this one.
In Pirani's court filings presented false information.
Multi-million-dollar fine comes from a jury verdict in what's being dubbed as a hearse-chasing lawsuit. Pirani was found liable for the solicitation of clients at funeral homes by sending people known as runners to find clients for wrongful death cases. Pirani says he had no knowledge it was happening.
I have always tried to emphasize and be clear so that people know that I had no idea that these people existed. I certainly had no idea that they had any connection to this case whatsoever.
According to an order by U.S. District Judge Timothy L. Brooks, Pirani violated federal rules of civil procedure when he used AI to create and electronically sign court filings that contain citations to cases that don't exist and quotes of non-existent passages.
So another one of these, where they're bringing it, but at first when this one was first playing, I didn't know for sure it was going to be evidence. I was thinking maybe he was like using AI to generate cases, and I can imagine that would happen too. It could. Depends on like the ethics of whoever's doing it, right? Okay, now this is an interesting one. Let's go ahead and play that one for a few minutes.
I thought it was creative.
I come here today a humble pro se
All right.
before a panel of 5 distinguished justices.
Shut that off.
A 74-year-old man in New York has caused a legal stir after attempting to argue his own case using an AI-generated lawyer.
So this time it wasn't the citations. It was actually, again, the person, the lawyer was AI.
Right. Well, what I thought was really interesting about this, though, is there's actually artificial intelligence programs right now that are trying to create AI lawyers. So there's several projects where people are like, okay, I'm going to make an AI generated lawyer that can assist you with your will, or who can assist you create XYZ. So it's not, I mean, it was very creative for this 74-year-old man to do. It wasn't done very well, but when somebody does do it well, and it's an actual platform, at that point, it's probably gonna differ state by state on what's acceptable to use and what is not acceptable to use, and even what kind of cases you can use it for. For example, could you use an AI lawyer for a felony case, or can you only use it for a civil case? Or
Exactly. And what you're kind of like alluding to is like a legalization of how to use these. So, for example, what's that website that you can go and get legal advice from? It's like just snippets. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh, I forget the name of it.
Yeah. Anyway,
you're talking about.
Like think of an AI one where they might actually have actual lawyers on call for review. So they would do the review, but maybe not the full casework. And then maybe that would be something that could be used in court, as long as it's, of course, identified. And again, like you said, it's going to be jurisdiction to jurisdiction. I'm not sure if that is allowed yet, but I think you have some sources for us that people can look that up if they want to. So we'll kind of go on to the next one. Okay. This one's going to be a little bit longer. I know it takes a minute to get to the meat of it, but here we go.
Questions?
Just one. It's just.
What's your question?
Just to know if this is fictional or fact.
I don't know what this is.
I think it's great. You had a question about the grams per 100 milliliters.
So what's your question? You think that you were below the limit, above the limit, beyond the limit, how they came up with the limit?
According to this, I was not above the limit.
Okay, and that's like a AI chatbot thing, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So this example is, again, the dramatic music. That's the station A&E put this one on. But yeah, as Cien Canelli, which is, I know, Cynthia says she has no patience. Yeah, she doesn't have patience. Although maybe it's earned. Maybe this guy's had problems before. So anyway, yeah, that's another example of somebody using it in court and basically just trying to get by based on what the chatbot said. So he's asking it. They're in court. Am I under the limit? Am I over the limit? And he might, be asking it the wrong question, or it might be hallucinating and giving him the wrong answer, or maybe it doesn't understand like which jurisdiction he's in. Who knows?
Well, in this instance, it was a hallucinated math answer to an equation, and he was arguing the percentages, which was totally off because he was horrible at math. But I thought it was a really good example of how people can people are using AI when looking at legal topics, and then the fact that he's just doing it so poorly.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe he's high.
Yeah, so he said maybe he's high. Yeah, he did sound a little high, but yeah, absolutely. And the thing is, like, something that's straightforward as math. One of the things that I love about AI is if I don't understand something, I might be able to get some hints on AI. And so that's something where he's saying he didn't understand it, but he wanted to double check it. And so he's trying to get that kind of information, and he's just taking it as fact, which again, AI's answers might, a little sus in some cases, right? I'm not going to use AI as my accountant.
Well, and actually the other thing I was going to say about what you just said, it's the earlier example with the gentleman that had to pay a ridiculous amount of money for multiple hallucinations that he presented. He is ChatGPT. Mm-hmm. And I think that's another thing you really need to consider is when you're doing any specialized field, is to look at the AI LLMs and whether it even relates to the field that you're doing, or whether or not the AI agent relates to the field of what you're doing.
Right. And we are going to talk about some where they really do like focus on legal, but yeah, you're right. And you think about just even ChatGPT versus Gemini versus Grok, et cetera. And what I find, and I test these pretty often, is that one will be better at one topic than the other, or one type of answer than the other. However, it switches, it changes, because the one will update and suddenly it's the greatest one. And for some reason, like right before the update, you notice them degrading. I don't know if that's real or perceived, but either way, it's not universal. Right. Okay, let's try the next one. Oh, this one's pretty good too. All right, this time we have the victim who is passed on giving his own impact statement. So we'll go ahead and listen to that.
See, from my video I recorded in 2021, this here is a true representation of who I was, not how the courtroom portrayed me. So I would like to make my own impact statement. So, hello, everybody. Thank you so much for being here today.
So in this case, I mean, you can really tell that it's AI, but they're not trying to mask it. They're not trying to say it's not AI in this case. They're just saying, hey, we want an impact statement to come from somebody who's no longer alive.
Right. So this one was very interesting, and the sister of the victim did the script for the AI representation of her deceased brother, and it actually had the judge in tears. You know, the judge was choked up and he was crying, and there's a lot of debate that he gave a stronger sentence because this was so effective as far as an emotional appeal. Now, obviously, the defense, they afterwards they brought up, you know, an objection to it, or tried to contest it.
Yeah.
But it certainly lays a interesting foundation of where does it stop? Can you have somebody? Could you have somebody who's a victim of where they don't want their real identity shown, like a rape victim? You know, could they use a personification? I mean,
Even as like a witness, you're meaning, so like
yeah.
a real-time one where they might be in another room and their persona is,
yes, yeah,
and they can answer questions, that
yeah.
sort of thing.
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, there's a lot of questions surrounding this, and whether or not this is going to be acceptable. On the flip side of it, I was reading a book by a Gladwell, where there was a study done that when you're in a court case, that actually the most objective outcomes as far as judgments is from not being able to see the witnesses. And so that is another flip way to use AI, is to assist with that automation on facts with human analysis checking it. But either way, you're looking at either it being used for emotional appeal in the case of this, or for more logical, you know, straight facts.
Right, and I can see how this could be used for witnesses. Maybe that the witnesses that needed to be secret could be, I mean, I don't know how many which witnesses can be secret, but witnesses that aren't supposed to be known to the public versus defendants get to know who their witnesses are. But there would maybe be even like a split thing behind the, you know, chair or whatever, where the judge can swear the person in and the judge knows who they are, and that judge knows that they're saying that. You know, I don't know exactly how it have to work, but yeah, absolutely. Really interesting possibilities as far as it goes.
Yeah.
All right. All right, next one. And this is the last of our examples, I believe, before we go on to like talk about articles and tools and that sort of thing. So this one, don't trust AI generated lawyers. Now, you saw the one that the 74-year-old guy kind of put it in the court, but there's actually apparently a scourge of AI generated lawyer commercials out there.
Well, if any of you out there have been scammed, there might be hope, because there appear to be a bunch of law firms running Facebook ads promising that they can recover your funds.
If you are a victim of an illegal broker and lost money, we will help you get back your savings and punish the scammers.
We are a team of professionals with more than 10 years of experience.
If you have lost more than $5,000 due to online fraud, please contact us immediately.
So I think that, like, looking at this, the voices aren't really matching the person, but that's something that culturally I know, because they're trying to be, you know, Americans. But doesn't mean everybody would be able to like sense that, right? Also, scam chasers. They've been out there for a long time. They were sending Twitter messages and Facebook messages to you before, and now you've got Facebook commercials. And before you start, Sarah, I do want to say one more thing about Facebook commercials. Maybe I won't point this out exactly, but go ahead and search if you want to. Facebook scam commercials 2024. Might find something interesting. Anyway, Sarah, go ahead.
I was just going to say this is actually happening a lot. So there were several lawyer posts on warning people on fake AI generated lawyer scams, and so I think as this evolves, they might become more
realistic.
But yeah, it's check to make sure your lawyer's real.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. All right. So how do you deal with this sort of thing, right? So we're going to kind of move on and talk about how to deal with, if you need to, AI content having to do with court. So the first one is you need to know what they are required for disclosure for court. Sarah.
Well, I think responsible and ethical use of artificial intelligence in production in general, whether it's for a courtroom or for an analytical report, you should be citing your use of AI. So I think that it's important that courts and legal systems have their own standards for citing how they're using artificial intelligence in cases. And I think it's also important for people to make sure that they check to see if something would fall within those rules before they do it.
Yeah, because I mean, when you think about it, like AI is everywhere now. Almost every tool that you're using has AI, right? I mean, it might be on your toothbrush for all I know. But when you're doing something, even with something like Grammarly, is Grammarly AI?
Right.
Right. So the question is, what can the courts, what can you use, what can you not use for the jurisdiction you're dealing with?
Well, and in some cases, it can actually get, it could possibly even get the court case dismissed. So the earlier example with the guy who paid a whole bunch of money, the other lawyer who had him sanctioned actually did an appeal to try and get it dismissed based on the fake information that was presented. So it can be very critical.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so the next one is going to be, this was the American Bar Association. They have a whole guide on artificial intelligence. So if you are wondering, hey, what can I do according to the American Bar Association, there's a site for that. Actually, this is the NSC, sorry. This is the National Center for State Courts. The last website was ADA. This one's NSC.
Yep.
So NCS, sorry. All right. Next one. Using AI for your court, read this first, and the read this first information. Some of the things that you can do according to this one in using AI. So, it's telling you, okay, fix grammar. So Grammarly, totally fine, right? Write drafts of letters, understand steps in a case, but the things they want you to make sure you do is double check everything that they use you, make sure your court specifically allows it, and know what citations you need for that, et cetera. And then, of course, they're going to say at the bottom, talk to a lawyer for legal help. And that's because, again, you might not be able to use it in AI in court if you don't already have a legal review.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Do you have anything further on this one?
No, well, not exactly on this one, but one thing I was thinking was it related to this one is that when you are utilizing a tool for collection of information for evidence, is you want to make sure that that tool is blessed for collection for legal venues. And because there is so much scrutiny right now within the legal systems, because it's so new with generative AI and agentic, that some of the tools that some OSINT analysts used prior to this big growth that already have AI embedded in them, it might not hurt to do a double check, to make sure that that tool for collection is still cool. So
right, because again, AI is in almost everything now. So something that you were using before. I don't know if that forensic OSINT has AI in it yet, but it might. I know that that Amber from Parabon, she has her own AI tool. And right now, I think you can use her other tools without AI, but you cannot tell right now for sure that something doesn't have AI until you examine it.
Right.
So, okay. AI on trial. Legal models hallucinate 1 out of 6 or more benchmarking queries. So that's not saying 1 out of 6 AI legal models, which we're talking about agents here, are giving you hallucinations. It's saying that of all of the content that's coming out of it, 1 out of 6 benchmarking queries are coming up with some hallucinations. that hallucination could be just as simple, like I was mentioned before, as just the wrong URL. Maybe the case really exists. If you put the wrong URL or the wrong name of the case in that, you're not making, the judge is not going to go search for the right one that the AI just happened to get wrong.
Right.
I mean, they might if you're lucky, but okay. So then Cynthia asked, wouldn't they need to disclose that AI has been used? And in most cases, yes. And you have to also identify whether AI can be used. But even if it is used and you don't go double check it and make sure that those case citations are correct, then I could see where they would just like kick it back to you, or again, fine you for the other lawyer's time. Okay, so now another type of case. I keep forgetting where I have to click now. For legal use would be just even in some of your personal things. Now this could be a will. Let me look at our list of things we had in here. So this one specifically has to do with leases, and this is a specific agent that will do something for that. But I can imagine that there's probably out there wills, corporate and compliance documents, small business documents, like they're AI for demand letters and settlement communications. I'm sure that already exists, even if it's not within that really, kind of generic legal aid tool that's out there. But contracts and agreements, and also keep in mind that AI can also end up with plagiarism in some cases.
Right.
So this one in this case is lease chat. You're going to talk to the AI about how your lease works, and hopefully it knows jurisdiction to jurisdiction. It says explain the city and state.
Yeah. And this one was interesting because it was made by initially a group of students at a university at Chicago, and it helped a lot of students to figure out their rights that they have for leasing apartments. So something like this actually is a very positive thing. Especially because students don't have a lot of money. They can't be on the phone calling a lawyer and saying, okay, I want, for you to check and see if my landlord is doing something wrong, because usually they can't pay for that.
Right. And so the thing with this one is that it still might hallucinate. So you still have to check the sources, but it's really this, because it's an agent, it's focused on this as a problem. It's not going to not know what you're talking about. It's going to know exactly and theoretically bring you up just the correct sources, which you can then double check to make sure that it's saying the right thing. And because again, it's AI, and if you're wondering, like, it's talking legalese here and giving you a source, and you read that it's a legalese and you're like, what the heck? You can continue to query it to break it down into something easier to understand.
Yep.
All right, let's talk about Harvey.ai. So this one is an AI law agent, I guess. Sarah?
And this one is actually made for law firms and for people that support law firms. So this is much more of a professional platform, and I haven't personally tried it, but it had very good reviews online. This would certainly make more sense to try to use if you're a lawyer than ChatGPT. So.
Right. And again, it says request a demo, which anything that says request a demo means that it's premium for price, right? And so hopefully it's also a premium for usage, where if you did end up getting a hallucination at some point, which of course you're going to check your sources anyway, but if you did, maybe you could like send in a bug report to it, say, hey, this isn't right, to like help it improve. Hopefully it's already improved enough beyond that, but who knows? All right. Okay, next one. This one is more for consumers, although they have a section that says for lawyers, but this is AI lawyer, your personal legal AI assistant.
Yeah, this is again just to like help people with the things that Kirby listed out, like a will or how to write a contract, or so essentially how to format things or how to populate things. It's good for people that are on more of a budget.
And maybe even how to read your contracts.
Yeah.
All right. This one's a little bit of a shorter one this week, but we covered a lot of ground just now. So I think we're going to go ahead and give you our AI slop of the week. And
knowledge portal.
Oh, knowledge. Sarah's right. I got to tell you about the knowledge portal. Okay, so we have besides this show, we have our free knowledge base on knowledgebase.pluses.net. So let me go and share that tab. And this is a place where we just kind of vet tools. We share what we find and whether we think it's useful or not and where it's coming from, because in some cases that's something that is useful to you. So please consider becoming a premium supporter of this, in which case you would just go to the About This database and choose to subscribe for $5.99 a month or $65 a year. And that supports the database, but it also supports this show. Additionally, corporate supporters, get in touch with us. We do have corporate support, and that would get you a section in the database of your own, as well as mention on our show.
And every tool that we discussed and a resource that we discussed in this show will end up in the database also.
All right.
With a full review.
Now we'll say AI slop time.
Yes.
All right. So thanks, everybody. We're going to start kind of a new thing where we're going to say thank you, and then we're going to show you the AI slop, and that will end up closing out the show. So
thank you
so much. We appreciate you. And thank you to those of you who are in the chat, Sten Giancarlo and Cian Canali. And we will see you next time.
$4 million scooter accident. $8 million toaster explosion lawsuit. You could be next.
You could be next to hit the pain parade. Or follow the crash, congrats, you just got paid. At the place on, that's money in motion.
Oh my God!
That's financial promotion. Bruised, confused, just wrecked your ride. You're sitting pretty with the lawyer by your side. So strip that curve, spill that drink. It's not misfortune, it's a ching, I think. You could be next.
We won! We actually won!